Some time ago, I read something about traveling in the West in the 1800s in a stagecoach. And believe it or not, they said that they had three classes of travelers, of passengers. First class was ticket bought you a right to sit. That's all you had to do. Just sit there, you didn't have to do a thing. Second class, and you're sitting inside. Second class, you're probably sitting inside, and what you had to do was, if there's something went wrong with the coach or you had to stop for whatever, you needed to get out. And if the coach was stuck, well, then somebody else had to get it out, but you just got the right to get out and wait until it was all fixed and then get back in. And then the third class were those whose responsibility was to take care of whatever went wrong. And they probably weren't inside, but riding on the back or up on the top, and it's kind of a rough ride. And if something would happen, like they got stuck, they'd have to get down there in the mud and push the coach out, or they'd have to help to change a wheel, or to get the horses some water or whatever. It was their responsibility in a third-class ticket to serve whatever needed to be done on their trip. Well, relative to the gospel, the disciples thought that Jesus was a first-class traveler, that he had a first-class ticket. And so they said, we want to sit on your right and on your left. And he said, well, tell you what, I have plenty of room around me. Come on and walk with me and sit with me. But I got to tell you, I'm not a first-class traveler. I'm a third-class traveler. I travel third class, which means, as it said in that second reading, that we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with what we go through, but one who has been tested in everything just like we are, except without sin, but he has been tested in life. He knows what it's like to live inside skin. And furthermore, he goes on in the gospel to say that he came among us not to be served, but to serve. It's a third-class ticket. So come on, sit next to me, lots of room, but you're traveling third class. So, what class do you think you're traveling? Or me? Well, we're called to travel third class, because that's where Jesus is. And if we want to be near Jesus, that's what we have to have, is that kind of a mentality. We came to not to be served, but to serve, to be part of the action and part of the solution. Because we don't travel alone. We travel in a church, our parish church, as well as in the archdiocese and the broader church. We travel together. We pray for one another, and sometimes we need to ask for prayers. We help one another, and sometimes we need to ask for help. But we are here in this together to serve. There are no sitters. If you're around Jesus, we need to be third class to do what needs to be done. Today, I've asked Bretta McPhee, one of our parishioners, to talk to us about her experience of being a member of this church, of traveling and belonging, and relative to what we're doing now in our parish. So, Bretta, please come up.
Thank you. Good morning. For those of you who know me, you probably know that I love public speaking, and I actually enjoy coming up to a microphone. But today it's a little bit tougher for me because I need to share some of my failings in order to share with you some of my hopes. If you don't know me, my name is Bretta McPhee. I joined St. Bonaventure in 1990 when my girls were 2, 3, and 4 years old. Some of you might remember the 3 little dark-haired girls that sat in the front row with me. This parish was a huge influence on my family and our faith in the 90s. So I am here today to ask you to consider how you can be that foundation for other young families and their faith journey today. When we came here, Father Ed was the pastor. We were very involved in church as lector, faith formation, altar servers, and children's choir. I also had financial struggles back then. As a single mother, I was in a situation I had not anticipated. I felt it was due to my own bad decisions, so I did not want to ask for help. Then I heard a homily about the Good Samaritan. Deacon Frank said, "We always think about whether we're the good neighbor or one of the two who walked on by. We forget that sometimes we're the guy beaten up at the side of the road." We need to know that God gives us the grace to ask for help and the grace to receive it. So I learned there is grace in humility, and I learned to accept help. My kids attended nativity, played sports, and joined Girl Scouts on scholarships. A great aunt bought them their school uniforms and a new dress at Christmas and Easter. My mom fed us countless times when we would stop in at dinner time. And although there was no money for a rainy day fund, we were happy, loved each other, and we trusted God. He never failed us. With God's grace, the worst of the burdens eased. The girls are now grown up, and I can now make it to the end of a paycheck. The reason I share this is because I see a real parallel in where I and many of you have been and where our parish is today. When I heard last June that we were going to look at another capital campaign, my first response was, "Already? I thought we're still paying for the last one." I saw a sheet of numbers that looked high to me, and so I decided to participate in that survey last August in order to share my opinion that I thought this was too much, too soon, and too unnecessary. And that is the opinion I shared. Then when Father Richard called to ask me to join the capital campaign cabinet, I said I didn't think I could support it enough. So he let me ask questions. He had honest, candid answers about why we are in debt from our recent additions and why we are currently unable to save enough for upgrades to lighting, sound, and all the rest. He expressed his awareness of our parishioners' concerns and also his confidence in this plan. He knows the discipline it takes to do something like this and the rewards of what we have already accomplished. And he believes in this parish and what we need to leave for those who come after us. So I agreed to join the cabinet, and as is usually the case, I have been vocal in meetings about the transparencies of our current debt. I challenged the numbers, the goals, the reasons for this campaign. And in the end, I stand up here in full support of this effort, and I ask you to join me in strengthening this parish. I know there are many Catholic parishes in deficit spending, just like I used to be. We are blessed here at St. Bonaventure that our weekly collections are about the same as our expenses. Our campaign goal is to pay off the debt and make some long overdue improvements while still living out our mission of parish life and outreach. Father Richard has said that once we pay this debt, we will not start any new project until we have a new bid and money in the bank. That assures me that we will not be in debt again. Any capital campaign requires change, and change can be difficult. But change is easier if you have some control of it and a voice in the process, and you do. You decide what you can contribute, and you can even specify where you want the money to be spent. Change is easier if you have the information you want, and you will. Since different people want different levels of information, we will post all of it on the parish website and at the parish office, and you can access whatever you want to know. If you have a question and you don't find the answer, please ask one of us in the cabinet and we will get the answer for you. Change is easier if you understand the value of what you are doing, and you can. The goals of this campaign are to pay debt and handle maintenance items, and we believe as good stewards of God's gifts that we need to pay for these repairs before they become emergencies. Many good people started this parish over 50 years ago. They were willing to build and maintain these buildings in order to grow as a community. Their effort is what made a huge difference to my girls and to me. And now I ask you to do the same. We need you to step forward in faith and to commit to the success of this campaign. I understand if you hesitate, because I did too. I understand if you think we should be financially sound already, because I felt that too. But years ago, I learned there is grace in asking for help. There is grace in asking others to support an honest cause, and there is grace when we bond as a community, step forward in faith, and strengthen this parish for those who follow. May God bless you and those you love with His grace. Thank you.